Coming up on Network Africa, several French soldiers injured after a car bomb attack in Mali. European Union to lift all restrictions on Burundi, plus voting continues in some parts of Ethiopia while counting begins for the election of a new national and regional government. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoki. Several French soldiers are said to have been injured in a car bomb attack on a base in central Mali. The soldiers, who are part of Operation Barkhane, were injured in Kaiguru district in Gossi. However, no one has claimed responsibility for the attack. This follows a second coup in 9 months in the West African nation. It also comes weeks after President Emmanuel Macron warned that France would withdraw troops from Mali if the political instability there leads to greater Islamist radicalization. Recently, Mr. Macron has said his country's military operation in the violence-hit Sahel of West Africa will no longer exist in its current form. Mr. Macron warned of the risk of Mali moving towards greater Islamist influence. France has 5,100 troops in the Sahel region, which has been a front line in the war against Islamist militancy. The security analyst Chidi Wonu joins us now for more on this. Thank you so much for speaking to us on the program. France and French troops have been an integral part of the security in the Sahel, which Mali is a part of. What do you make of President Macron's decision?
Good evening and thank you for having me. I would say that President Macron's decision was informed by many factors, but I think the key amongst them was the breakdown in the political order in Mali in particular. I think one can see that the political elite within Mali have kind of lost a significant amount of legitimacy amongst their own people, but also they are less interested in resolving the governmental and security challenges, and they're more interested in securing positions for themselves. And this presents France with a problem in that they can spend a lot of time fighting insurgents, killing different militia groups, but this doesn't solve the underlying grievances that are driving these militia groups, which are not just religious or ideological, as the narrative would make you think, but they're mainly down to very basic things like land rights, employment, demographics, climate change, land rights, and things like this. And without an engaged political elite to tackle these root problems, to reform the military in order that they are able to defend themselves, much less protect the people, France would have found itself in exactly the same situation that the Americans found themselves in Afghanistan, spending 20 years, with billions of dollars or euros of their funds, and losing a lot of lives and not having anything to show for it at the end. So I think this is, the end of a long kind of pattern of France trying to disengage itself from Africa and from its old France-Afrique policy, not completely, but maybe revitalize it for the modern day, and then bring themselves out. And this is just a convenient way for them to actualize that.
Well, now the French military operation Barkhane in the violence-hit Sahel is to no longer exist in its current form. And, President Macron says it will be replaced by another mission of French troops that will further rely on other partners. What impact could this have, if any?
The replacement of Barkhane with Takuba Plus, which is going to be, will have a fairly significant effect, because Takuba is going to be very much, if we use the example of Afghanistan, there were generally several operations running in Afghanistan at the same time. You had the wider NATO mission, which was, stabilization, peacekeeping, etc. And then you had other missions, which were CIA special forces missions, which were targeting, violent extremist actors. And whilst they were targeting them very efficiently, both couldn't work hand in hand. happened, because whilst the Americans would land and kill an insurgent's leader or an insurgent, disrupt an insurgent group with their special forces, this would cause an amount of trouble for the stabilization elements of it. So in this case, two units operating without, having a comprehensive framework which balances out the different forces creates a certain amount of instability in of itself. So it will remain to be seen how this force integrates with the Malian forces and with the wider regional forces, and also how it integrates with the Malian government. But without a comprehensive plan that addresses, as I said, the root causes, it's very likely that this new operation Takuba will also be scaled down after a while.
Well, as part of efforts to boost regional capacity to combat a growing Islamist threat, we know Côte d'Ivoire has opened a counterterrorism academy that's in partnership with France. What do you think, what more can regional powers do to actually support itself in overcoming insurgency?
The main job of regional powers, to be fair to them, they're doing what they can do, which is to hold the Malian government to account, to try and put pressure on them to reverse the coup and to return the military to barracks. Now, it's very unlikely that this is going to happen, but at least, with sanctions and other pressures, hopefully they could try and influence the behavior of the current junta and convince them to hold credible and legitimate elections, and then bring in a civilian government. The other thing is that when it shouldn't be enough for the civilian government just to be, the outcome of a set of elections. It has to be, as I've said, accountable to the Malian people, to all the Malian people from the north to south, and give a sense of nationhood to all the people in Mali. So to start solving some of these genuine grievances which are driving the insurgencies.
All right then, security analyst Chidi Iwonu, thank you so much for joining us. Burundi's president's office says the European Union is in the process of removing financial restrictions on the country. The decision to lift the ban on restrictions was communicated to Burundi's president when he met the EU delegates on Monday in the political capital Gitega. In 2016, the EU suspended direct financial support to the Burundian government over human rights violations after the unrest that followed the failed coup of 2015. Since 2020, under President Evariste Ndayishimiye, Burundi has made efforts to restore rights and foreign relations and had approached the EU to lift the ban. Voting in Ethiopia continues in some parts of the country for a second day after challenges in some areas. While ballot counting has begun in most areas, the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia chairperson has said some constituencies and polling stations encountered problems that includes shortages of ballot materials. The voting was extended by 3 hours across the country on Monday because of logistical challenges. Now, the board also said voting will resume on Tuesday in some areas of eastern Ethiopia, as well as in the western Oromia region. In the Sidama region, voting was postponed till today after less than half of ballot papers arrived. Well, despite these difficulties, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has praised the election as a historic day and the nation's first free and fair election. The VOA's Heather Murdoch joins us now for more updates on this election. Hello, Heather. Good to see you. Voting has continued for a second day. That is today. How is that going?
We heard from election officials just an hour ago, and they said they expected most of the voting to be concluded today. There are a few precincts that they had logistical problems that they do not know exactly when they are going to finish, but they're hopeful that most will be finished today, and then in the next 5 days, we are expecting the ballots to be moved to Addis Ababa, to the capital, to be counted and checked, and hopefully we will get preliminary results at that time.
All right, so Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has touted this election as the first free and fair election. When can we expect results?
I believe the final results are expected in about 2 weeks. There are already people talking about very preliminary votes because outside of the individual polling stations, you can see some local results. The national results should be announced in about 5 days. and that should be the preliminary result. And in 2 weeks, we should have a final count.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Heather Murdoch, joining us there from Addis. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Sudan has once again urged the UN to replace Ethiopian peacekeepers in the disputed Abyei region on the Sudan-South Sudan border with another force from different countries. Local media reports that the proposal came during a meeting between Foreign Minister Mariam Al-Mahdi and the UN Director Graham Maitland. Ms. Mahdi said this was necessary due to the current changes in relations with Ethiopia and the loss of its forces' neutrality, which was essential to carry out the mission's tasks. Last April, Sudan demanded the replacement of the Ethiopian peacekeepers after accusing Addis Ababa of amassing troops in the eastern Al-Fashaga region in Sudan's eastern Al-Qadarif state, an area disputed by both sides. The UN Security Council established UNISFA in June 2011 and approved Ethiopian troops to be deployed in the region to oversee demilitarization and maintaining security in the area. Head of the UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, Nicholas Haysom, says the formation of a unified national army is a critical element in South Sudan's transition to power. Mr. Haysom told the UN Security Council in New York that the overall implementation of the September 2018 revitalized peace agreement was progressing slowly and that the formation and graduation of troops from the United Forces that was critical to preventing a relapse to conflict was behind schedule. According to him, intercommunal violence continues to cause insecurity and obstructs the realization of a durable and sustainable peace in South Sudan.
In July, the Republic of South Sudan will mark its 10th anniversary as an independent state. Council members will recollect the jubilation 10 years ago when we welcomed South Sudan to the family of independent nations. The international community pledged its support to South Sudan then. This commitment remains an important and as urgent today as the world's youngest nation strives to deliver peace and security to its citizens. The overall implementation of the revitalized agreement is progressing slowly. The formation of the legislature remains incomplete. The constitution of the Council of States and the nomination of the Legislative Assembly Speaker is pending. UNMISS continues to encourage the government to continue with these processes while ensuring adequate representation of women and youth at all. Drafting a national constitution is the high.
Well, the United Nations Special Envoy, Hollywood actress Angelina Jolie, has praised Burkina Faso for welcoming displaced people despite its limited resources and battling its own insurgency. At a refugee camp which houses Malian refugees who escaped insecurity in their own country, only to find similar circumstances in Burkina Faso.
I'm here to show my solidarity with the Burkina people who continue to welcome their displaced brothers and sisters despite terrible attacks and challenges, sharing what little they have at a time when other countries with far more have closed their borders and their minds to refugees. And thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm honored and I'm grateful to be among you, and I bow my head in respect for your courage and for your strength. So it is not that we are at a breaking point, we are broken. The way the international community tried to address this conflict and insecurity is broken. It is erratic, it is unequal, it is built on inherited privilege, it is subject to the whim of political leaders, and it is geared towards the interests of powerful countries, including my own, at the expense of others.
Still to come on the program. How would you like to ride your car on water? Well, 3 Egyptians have designed and invented a vehicle that can do just that. Please stay with us for more details. Welcome back to the program. The United Nations is raising concern over an increasing threat posed by human activities to the ocean. So also is Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo. At a session to mark this year's 2021 Hydrography Day, they emphasized the need to bring to bear the gains of an effective hydrographic practice. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
Nigerian Navy joins other countries of the world in this hybrid session hosted in Monaco to pay attention to the Earth's oceans.
The reasoning for the establishment.
This is part of activities to mark the World Hydrographic Day, which emphasizes the need for our waters to be comprehensively studied and charted in order to improve maritime activities. The United Nations expresses concern.
It's my duty to repeat the remarks of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, who announced at the Blue COP in Madrid that we are willfully destroying the life support systems of this planet.
In Nigeria, as in elsewhere in the world, mariners rely on hydrographic surveys and charts to ply the ocean. This means uncharted space remains a great danger. The Chief of Naval Staff gives insight into how effective hydrography remains germane to national economic growth and security.
Effective hydrographic practice will ensure adequate chart coverage of about 84,000 square nautical miles of Nigeria's territorial waters and ultimately provide up-to-date nautical products to drive Nigeria's blue economy project, including support for safe conduct of mariners' activities.
In his remark, the hydrographer of the Navy says the practice of hydrography in Nigeria has greatly improved maritime safety and security with the production of local charts and surveys.
The Nigerian Navy, as Nigeria's national coordinating agency in hydrography and charting, will go into full-scale hydrographic survey and charting in the next few months.
Only recently, the Nigerian Navy acquired a hydrographic vessel NNS Lano, which is also fitted with the capacity to intercept or respond to maritime threats. It's been 100 years of international cooperation in keeping the ocean well charted. Strengthening this cooperation appears very apt as the world hopes to effectively tackle the issues of maritime safety and security. Chris Illems, Channels Television News.
The ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja has issued an order restraining the federal government of Nigeria from imposing sanctions or harassing, intimidating, arresting or prosecuting Twitter and or any other social media service provider, as well as media houses, pending the hearing and determination of a suit challenging the government's suspension of Twitter operations in the country. The suit was filed by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and 176 concerned Nigerians, arguing that the suspension of Twitter by the government was illegal. The court ruled that any interference with Twitter is viewed as interference with human rights, and that will violate human rights. The court also ordered that the application be heard expeditiously, while the Nigerian government has been asked to take immediate steps to implement the court order. The substantive suit has been adjourned to the 6th of July 2021 for hearing. Now to COVID-19 stories. Kenya has received over 358,000 doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines donated by Denmark's government to boost its vaccination efforts. This will help reduce the shortage of coronavirus vaccines to be administered as second doses to healthcare and frontline workers. The Ministry of Health says that the new doses will be taken to various facilities across the country. Close to 1 million Kenyans have been inoculated with the AstraZeneca vaccine, with the majority still waiting for the second jab. The donated COVID-19 vaccines have a lifespan of 1 month and will be safe until the end of July. Also, the U.S. through the COVAX scheme has donated approximately 10 million doses of vaccines for Africa to be shared with countries that will be selected in coordination with the African Union. If you're a fan of using argan oil, you probably may have wondered how and where it is made. Well, the Amazigh women of Morocco have the answers for you.
In the arid mountains of southern Morocco, local women harvest argan oil, a natural product they've long used in cooking, but which has become highly prized by global beauty industry as an anti-aging skin treatment and restorative for hair. Most argan oil is produced by local cooperatives of Amazigh-speaking Berber women around cities of Agadir, Saara and Tarrant, where the argan tree, which bears small green fruits resembling an olive, is common. That oil was once the most expensive in the world for centuries. It's extracted by drying argan fruit in the sun, peeling and mashing the fruit, then crushing and grinding the kernel with stones. The oil used to be put in food for flavoring or as a savory dip for bread. It's an ingredient still common in Morocco and is exported for food. But to most parts of the world, the oil is considered gold in the beauty industry. It costs around $30 to $50 a litre locally, but sells for as high as $250 a litre on the international market.
دابا حاليا ولا التزايد بزاف على المنتجات ديال زيت الارغان على الصعيد الدولي.
Currently, there is more demand for argan oil products at the international level, and we have lots of products such as cooking argan oil and cosmetics oil. And there are also argan derivatives such as creams, shampoos and bath soaps. There is a significant increase in the demand for these products at the international level.
Argan oil can be used to treat a number of skin conditions such as psoriasis and rosacea, acne, and it also suits atopic dermatitis and improves wound healing, among other benefits.
Why bother with a boat when you can just use your car? Well, holidaymakers on Egypt's north coast might find a surprising addition to shoreline traffic this year. A number of sports cars whizzing across the surface of the Mediterranean. The more upmarket beaches have introduced the aquatic car in lieu of jet skis, which its Egyptian makers promise is much safer and packs a lot more punch. Take a look.
While tourists usually enjoy beautiful sandy beaches and clear waters along the northern coast of Egypt, they're set up for an additional attraction this year with the launch of the first locally manufactured car-shaped vehicle that can drive over water. Manufactured by three friends, the vehicle is mainly produced using local material and by local talent, apart from the engine, which comes from Japan.
When I used to live outside Egypt, I wanted to do the project from abroad, from outside, and then bring it to Egypt. I then spoke to my friend, and we brainstormed and planned to manufacture this vehicle with the best resources from Egypt. We found really good resources in Egypt and manufactured it. As you can see, and thank God, the product is all Egyptian. It was made by Egyptians with Egyptian materials. Only the engine is Japanese.
The friends have so far produced 12 vehicles and received many orders upon the reveal of the vehicle.
After producing the first video about the vehicle, I received a good number of orders. I have different models that are totally different from the model that will be part of our development.
Each vehicle takes 3 weeks to produce and is priced between 300,000 to 700,000 Egyptian pounds. The group of friends plan to further develop the vehicle by introducing new amphibian models and making it operate on land. They also aim to export to overseas markets.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.